Next, can we welcome up Frank Paleokrassas. Frank, he started his career in Athens, working for 2 ship owners, and then he joined Bernhard Schulte in Hamburg as a technical manager, and since then he's founded BSM, Fleet Performance. I believe, it says here, you have currently around about 450 vessels. Wonderful, so let's give a round of applause for Frank.
Good afternoon. So a word of warning, I come from a slightly different background. I'm a naval architect and marine engineer, and so 100% business. And so today we've heard a lot about data and transmission of the data and collection of the data and all that. I'm going to circle back to the first presentation from Mastermind about decarbonization, and ultimately how we put data into use specifically for decarbonization. So a few words about our group. We are a family-owned, 140-year-old company. Our group is consisted of 3 main verticals: ship owning, Bernhard Schulte, the part where I started in, with 90 owned ships; ship management, the part that I'm working for now, which is consisted of the 3 branches that you see there, 3 main brands, with Pronav being a dedicated LNG ship manager. And of course our maritime services, which span from new building supervision all the way to catering, agencies, and crucially, software development with MariApps. This is an overview of our fleet. Of course, the numbers here don't add up to 450, they actually add up to 650 because we add up the crew managed ships here. This is just to show and demonstrate the variety of the fleet that we have and the challenge that we have in our hands. Bernhard Schulte Ship Management is actually the largest third-party manager of LNG carriers, with our office here being one of the largest ship managers to this regard, and actually the incubator, let's say, of Greek shipping with regards to LNG, since so many companies have passed from our hands. So, coming to decarbonization, I think a lot of you will have heard about CII. It's coined as a game changer. It's ultimately a very simple way to quantify compliance to decarbonization. I personally find CII as a metric inadequate because it does not take into account cargo carried, but this, of course, I'm sure that will be improved over the years with so many revisions already planned. But CII comes into force as of next year, but to their credit, our management decided to enforce internally CII a year early, just to let everyone familiarize themselves. So we said that all ships that have an E rating should improve to D, all ships that have a D rating should improve to C, and the rest should remain where they are and slightly improve. So how are we doing? Well, this is where our fleet stood in 2021. Pretty standard distribution, nothing too crazy, pretty much what you'd expect. So, of course, the question is, how are we doing in 2022? The answer is not much change, right? And this only demonstrates the need for familiarization by all the stakeholders. I mean, performance is something that we've been working on for a very long time, and already you can see the challenge that we have with implementing something so simple. What is hidden here, of course, you will see that I have put percentages there. What is hidden is that we actually took 50 new ships in management in 2022, so of course skews the numbers. Was there any difference in the age profile of the fleet? Not really. So that's not really a contributing factor. So I, just last night, actually, I fell into a bit of a hole. So I apologize if this slide's a little bit rough. I want to show you a practical example of one of the ships that we manage here in the fleet, in the office of Athens. So Hannah Schulte, 2,500 TEU ship, built 2006, meaning that she was ordered when speed was king. Classically overpowered ship, designed to run 24 knots, trades at 15. Okay, yeah, these are all screenshots directly from our system, hence the roughness. So this is how CII has developed from over the last 3 years. And you can see that with the exception of a dip in 2020, well, dip meaning improvement in 2020, generally the upwards trend towards the end of 2021 was worsening. The ship was doing worse in terms of carbon intensity, right? And then 2022, suddenly everything is green. So you have to ask yourself, what happened here? And this is, sorry, I'm missing the axis, but that's actually carbon emissions in metric tons of CO2. It's not a perfectly clear metric because it it also includes auxiliary engines and boilers. But generally, you can see an increase overall and then suddenly a drop. So in 2020, the ship had a C rating and an average speed of 15.8 knots. In 2021, a D rating and an average speed of 15.2 knots, basically same speed, right? And but the carbon intensity was worse. And then in 2022, okay, the average speed dropped by 1 knot, which is not really substantial at this speed, at the ship which has a speed range. But the rating is now B. So what happened? Sorry? No, the ship was dry docked at the end of 2021. So this simply shows to you the importance of analyzing data and the importance of analytics, after all. So starting from 2016, we started building a very large performance platform within our integrated ERP PAL. I'm not going to go through this in detail. I do have some of the main features on the screen here, but I would like to speak about specifically these 5 points. So digital twin benchmarking is what we do. So every single ship that comes into our management, we build a digital twin for it, and we continuously compare how it performs versus how it should perform, in theory. And this has also given us a massive step ahead with the introduction of EEXI and CII, because we already have all our ships modeled. And then, of course, for anything, to prevent anything, and because, I mean, this is not even half of the system. It's quite difficult to monitor everything, right? So we have built a targeted and automatically escalating alert system, which can beautifully fit into your organization's hierarchy. And coming back to what we said before, we have a predictive hull recommendation, hull inspection recommendation tool. So we can tell 3 to 6 months ahead whether a ship needs its hull inspected and cleaned. So for non-operating ship managers, such as ourselves, the tools that we have for compliance with CII are not that many. And there are basically 2, if you ask me. One is proper routing optimization, voyage optimization. The other one is hull maintenance. Everything else is marginal. So, and hence, we have weather routing integrated here. We do have a weather routing planning tool, but we're not doing weather routing ourselves. We're obtaining it from third parties through an API. And crucially, because you need to have human in the loop, and you need to have full engagement of the people that are actually running the ships, and trust me, they're not the superintendents, they are the crews on board. Analytics are available both on board and ashore. Of course, we do need to support our crews as much as possible, and therefore, when we built our new office for MARIAPS in Kochi last year, the largest office in our group, we built the state-of-the-art architecture for monitoring the fleet online. And the intention, of course, is to use this not just for the fleet that we have under our management, but also offer this as a service to third parties. But, okay, I'm aware that I'm not really speaking to technical departments here. So when I show you these screens of analytics and graphs and everything that I showed you before, it's a little bit difficult ultimately to track how a ship is doing in terms of performance. So what we decided to do is create a platform that can aggregate everything and make it transparent for all the stakeholders involved, from top management all the way down to the juniors in the technical department. So we gathered all our KPIs that are relevant with regards to performance, and we separated them into categories. We have color-coded them depending on how each of these KPIs behave. So straight away you can tell where the problems lie. And then we group them one level up into areas of concern. So hull and propeller, main engine, auxiliary power utilization, what have you. When one level up, 3 areas of concern: voyage performance, machinery performance, and reporting quality, because our system is driven by manual reporting and enriched with telemetry wherever available, so reporting quality is crucial. And finally, we end up with a single score for every ship. So this finally answers the question of, is my ship performing or not, and how well is it doing? Of course, if you're managing 1 or 2 ships, this is not really something that is too difficult, but when you're managing 450 as we do, you need this type of a dashboard to separate the good from the bad and the ugly, so to say. And finally, of course, track the total performance of your entire fleet from someone on a group level. But in order to drive the improvement of performance and get everyone's skin in the game, so to say, we decided to link performance of ships with staff performance. So using these KPIs that we talk about, we directly link them to personnel variable part of their salary, and therefore, if their ships are not performing, they are earning less. Talk about a motivator. But, talking about the performance part, of course, is one aspect. And if you have, let's say, a technical goon like myself, in a management position, he or she will have total focus on performance. Maybe he will be aware of what's happening in terms of safety, maintenance, procurement. You know, they're closely related departments, but might have complete blind spots when it comes to crewing and finance, first of all. So what we're working on right now is creating structures similar to what I showed you for performance, but for each of the functions that we have within the company. We selected these 6, and ultimately end up with a single score for every ship in terms of its total management. So of course, digitalization is a big word, it's a buzzword. We have been extremely lucky in BSM because, well, in Schulte Group, ultimately because our leadership decided that this is very important and quite early. And so what started off as the technology arm of BSM branched off into MARIAPS, which is now a massive company, 750 employees, 50 plus customers. But crucially, the ERP that we developed as BSM together with MARIAPS is now, of course, available for sales to third parties for a good few years now. And we're talking here about the modular ERP that covers every single aspect of ship management, starting from the classic technical ones, safety, procurement, what have you, and going all the way to chartering, insurance, traveling, and what have you. And importantly, all of this is integrated. And most crucially of all, because I heard earlier one of the other speakers saying that, you know, technology companies, developers are usually from outside the industry and they develop something for one client, and then, as we have seen all too often, this goes static after some time, goes stale. This does not happen with us, because our ship management platform, PAL, is continuously evolving and driven by our requirements as a ship manager for 150 ships of all types, and then tested thoroughly internally within BSM before it's made available to third parties. But of course, ERP sales are always difficult. It's often a non-starter. It's a very big project. And performance is a hot topic in view of decarbonization, of course. So what we said is, okay, let's take out the part that is related to emissions reporting, voyage operations, let's say, and the analytics that we looked at before. And we packaged all this into a standalone product that we call SmartOps. Moreover, one more interesting product from Mariapps is electronic record books, which covers everything that you see on the screen here, from all record book going all the way to cargo, garbage, ballast, and what have you. And already, you can see we have 8 flag approvals for this, and type approval from 3 class societies. And of course, more is on the way. Coming back to the whole integrated chain that we spoke about and the paperless aspect of it all, what we are heading towards here is crew-specific logins, right? Not master, but the name of the master. Logging into ER books, all the records electronic, and these records running through the ship-specific validations and everything else that we have put already in place, running to analytics and running to everything else that's in the company. So meaning a single source of entry, not multiple systems, as is very often the case. Finally, as a last word, I'd like to talk to you about a pilot that we did last year with a company called Signal. Signal is a bit of a startup that was previously active in the airline sector. And we did a pilot with them with a fleet of 28 ships. And what Signal does is they give nudges, as they call them, to the crew to improve their behavior. Of course, we all give nudges to people working under us in our structure to do their job better, right? But this is not what it is. This is not stick, and it's not carrot. We're not giving the crew incentives either. Signal uses behavioral science to give soft nudges and give an individual recommendations to each of our crew members to improve, because ultimately they want to. And this is what its whole philosophy. So we had 2 targets. We had 2 main KPIs. One had to do with fuel overconsumption of the ship, and the other one had to do with the balancing, with the utilization of the auxiliary engines. So one for the masters and the other one for the chief engineers. In both respects, we measured significant improvements. So this was a successful pilot, and we're currently looking at how to scale up further. So that was it for me. Thank you very much for your time. So if you found any of this interesting, would like to discuss further, please come find me. Thank you.